Welcome to Framework, the podcast that makes the NIST cybersecurity framework practical, engaging, and accessible. Whether you're a cybersecurity professional, business leader, or simply curious about how organizations defend against cyber threats, this series is for you. This podcast is inspired by a comprehensive guide to the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0, a best-selling resource written by cybersecurity expert Dr. Jason Edwards and trusted by professionals worldwide. In each episode, we'll leverage a few insights from Jason's extensive book to dive deep into CSF 2.0, unpacking every function, category, and subcategory with real-world applications you can immediately use. If you're enjoying this episode and want to learn more, head over to cyberauthor.me to grab your copy of the book and access additional resources to enhance your cybersecurity journey. You can also visit baremetalcyber.com, where over 2 million people last year explored expert insights, articles, and practical tools across a wide range of cybersecurity topics. PR.PS-03 personnel termination procedures are implemented. PR.PS-03 ensures that organizations establish structured and secure personnel termination procedures to protect sensitive systems and data when employees, contractors, or third-party vendors leave an organization. This subcategory belongs to the Protect function within the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework, version 2.0, emphasizing the importance of revoking access privileges, securing assets, and mitigating insider threats during offboarding. Without proper termination procedures, former employees may retain access to critical systems, increasing the risk of unauthorized access, data theft, or system sabotage. Proper personnel termination procedures are a fundamental aspect of cybersecurity, access control, and risk management. Employees and contractors often have access to confidential data, financial systems, intellectual property, and administrative accounts. If access is not revoked promptly upon termination, former personnel could intentionally or unintentionally cause security breaches. Organizations that implement structured offboarding processes reduce the likelihood of insider threats, accidental data exposure, and compliance violations, ensuring that former employees no longer pose a risk to organizational security. Personnel termination procedures involve multiple stakeholders across an organization. Human resources teams oversee formal offboarding processes, ensuring that departing personnel return company assets, sign exit agreements, and are properly debriefed on post-employment obligations. IT and security teams are responsible for revoking system access. Legal and compliance teams ensure that termination procedures align with contractual obligations, regulatory requirements, and data protection laws, preventing potential security and legal risks associated with former employees accessing sensitive information. Personnel termination procedures are implemented to ensure that former employees, contractors, and third parties no longer have access to organizational systems, facilities, or sensitive data. This includes disabling user accounts, revoking security credentials, recovering company devices, and ensuring that post-employment restrictions are enforced. Proper offboarding procedures prevent unauthorized access, data theft, and corporate espionage, ensuring that only active, authorized personnel maintain access to critical assets. Several key terms define the personnel termination process and its role in cybersecurity. Access revocation refers to the immediate disabling of user credentials, security badges, and remote access to prevent former employees from logging into company systems. Exit interviews involve structured discussions between departing personnel and HR security teams, ensuring that legal obligations, data protection requirements, and post-employment restrictions are understood. Account auditing ensures that all access points, including email accounts, privileged credentials, and cloud services, are fully disabled upon departure. Device retrieval requires organizations to collect company-issued laptops, mobile devices, security tokens, and external storage devices to prevent unauthorized data transfers. Insider threat monitoring involves ongoing observation of high-risk personnel before and after termination to detect suspicious behavior, data exfiltration, or unauthorized login attempts. Misconceptions about personnel termination can lead to security gaps, compliance risks, and insider threats, One common issue is delayed account deactivation, where organizations fail to revoke system access immediately, allowing former employees to log in after termination. Another issue is overlooking third-party contractors and vendors, where external personnel may retain credentials long after their contracts expire, posing a risk of unauthorized access to proprietary systems. Some organizations mistakenly believe that simply disabling an employee's email account is sufficient, failing to audit privileged accounts, remote access tools, or software licenses that may still be active. Proper personnel termination procedures ensure that former employees and third parties are completely removed from an organization's digital and physical environments, reducing the risk of data breaches, insider attacks, and unauthorized activity. Organizations that implement comprehensive offboarding processes strengthen cybersecurity, workforce integrity, and regulatory compliance, ensuring that access control measures remain strictly enforced before, during, and after employment. Organizations that fail to implement proper personnel termination procedures face serious cybersecurity risks, including unauthorized access, data exfiltration, and insider threats. If access privileges are not revoked promptly, former employees or contractors may retain the ability to log into company systems, download confidential files, or manipulate data. This can result in financial fraud, intellectual property theft, or sabotage, damaging business operations and customer trust. Additionally, failure to enforce termination procedures can lead to regulatory violations, particularly in industries such as finance, healthcare, and government contracting, where strict access control policies are required to protect sensitive personal and corporate data. On the other hand, well-structured termination procedures provide enhanced security, operational efficiency, and regulatory compliance. Organizations that promptly revoke user credentials, recover physical assets, and conduct access audits minimize the risk of insider threats and prevent unauthorized data access. Proper offboarding also protects customer and corporate data, ensuring that only active, authorized personnel retain access to critical business systems. Additionally, organizations that maintain clear and enforceable termination policies demonstrate a commitment to cybersecurity best practices, reducing the likelihood of security breaches, legal disputes, and compliance penalties. At the partial tier, organizations lack formalized offboarding procedures and may revoke access on an informal or case-by-case basis, leading to inconsistencies and security gaps. There may be no predefined process for disabling user accounts, allowing former employees to retain email access, system credentials, or remote login privileges long after departure. A small business at this level might rely on managers to manually notify IT teams about personnel departures, resulting in delayed account deactivation and increased risk of unauthorized access. At the risk-informed tier, organizations establish basic termination policies but may lack enforcement mechanisms or comprehensive tracking. Access revocation procedures exist, but departments may handle them inconsistently, leading to gaps in security. A mid-sized company at this level may disable email and VPN access but fail to audit shared drive permissions, administrative accounts, or third-party integrations, allowing former employees to retain indirect access to sensitive company data. At the repeatable tier, organizations standardize termination procedures, ensuring that user credentials, access badges, and remote logging capabilities are revoked immediately upon departure. Security teams and HR departments work together to ensure full compliance with offboarding protocols, conducting exit interviews, asset retrievals, and access audits for every departing employee or contractor. A financial institution at this stage may implement automated account deactivation, ensuring that all network, cloud, and application permissions are removed as soon as HR processes a termination request. At the adaptive tier, organizations continuously refine and automate termination procedures, integrating artificial intelligence and real-time monitoring to detect anomalous post-employment activity. Security teams leverage automated offboarding workflows, ensuring that access to cloud environments, third-party software, and privileged systems is revoked dynamically. A global technology firm at this stage may use AI-driven insider threat detection monitoring for suspicious data transfers, attempted logins, or unauthorized communications after personnel departure. Personnel termination procedures align with multiple controls in the National Institute of Standards and Technology special publication PR.PS-03, ensuring that organizations enforce structured offboarding processes. One key control is AC-2, account management, which requires organizations to establish formal processes for granting, modifying, and revoking user accounts. A healthcare provider implementing this control may enforce automated account termination, ensuring that employees who leave the organization immediately lose access to electronic health record systems and medical databases. Another relevant control is PS-5, personnel transfer, which ensures that access permissions are reevaluated when employees change roles or departments, preventing unauthorized access before, during, and after termination. A financial services company implementing this control may review all privileged access accounts monthly, ensuring that terminated employees and transferred personnel no longer have unnecessary system privileges. Personnel termination procedures also align with IA-4, identifier management, which ensures that organizations track and manage unique user identities across systems, promptly revoking access upon termination. This control requires organizations to disable usernames, multi-factor authentication tokens, and privilege credentials immediately after an employee leaves. A government contractor implementing this control may use identity and access management (IAM) platforms to automate the deactivation of accounts across cloud environments, databases, and internal networks, ensuring that former personnel cannot re-enter the system after departure. These controls can be adapted based on organizational size, industry, and risk exposure. A small business may use a manual offboarding checklist, ensuring that departing employees return company-owned devices and have their accounts deactivated by IT teams. A large enterprise may implement automated termination workflows, where HR system updates trigger immediate access revocation across all connected applications and platforms. Organizations operating in highly regulated industries such as healthcare and defense may require multi-step clearance processes, ensuring that background screenings, data protection policies, and insider threat risk assessments are completed before finalizing employment terminations. Auditors assess an organization's personnel termination effectiveness by reviewing whether formalized, repeatable, and well-documented offboarding procedures are enforced consistently. They examine whether organizations track and revoke all user accounts, system privileges, and device access in a timely manner. If an organization lacks a structured termination process, auditors may issue findings that highlight delayed access deactivation, unmanaged privileged accounts, or compliance violations related to insider risk management. To verify compliance, auditors seek specific types of evidence. Account termination logs and user access records demonstrate that organizations systematically disable accounts upon termination. Exit interview documentation and security checklists provide proof that departing personnel return all corporate devices, keys, and access badges before departure. Insider threat detection reports show whether organizations monitor and analyze post-employment access attempts, ensuring that former personnel do not attempt unauthorized logins. A compliance success scenario could involve a technology firm that undergoes an audit and provides detailed logs showing that all employee accounts are disabled within 30 minutes of HR processing a termination request. Auditors confirm that email, cloud applications, and VPN credentials are revoked immediately, preventing unauthorized post-employment access. In contrast, an organization that fails to track former employees' system credentials may receive audit findings for excessive active accounts, uncontrolled privileged access, or improper handling of sensitive data after termination. Organizations face multiple barriers in implementing effective personnel termination procedures. One major challenge is incomplete asset tracking, where companies fail to retrieve laptops, security badges, USB drives, or access tokens from departing personnel, allowing former employees to retain unauthorized access methods. Another challenge is inconsistent termination policies, where different departments follow varying procedures for offboarding employees, contractors, and third-party vendors, leading to gaps in security enforcement. A final challenge is manual account management, where organizations rely on human intervention to disable accounts, increasing the risk of delays, errors, or misterminations. Organizations can overcome these barriers by automating the offboarding process, integrating termination workflows with identity and access management solutions, and implementing strict exit procedures for all workforce members. Investing in privileged access management tools ensures that high-risk accounts are revoked instantly upon employment termination, preventing former personnel from accessing administrative systems. Standardizing termination policies across employees, contractors, and third-party vendors ensures that all personnel categories follow the same security controls, reducing unauthorized access risks. By embedding personnel termination procedures into broader cybersecurity governance frameworks, organizations can eliminate insider risks, enhance compliance, and maintain a secure workforce environment. That wraps up today's discussion on framework. Don't stop here. Head over to cyberauthor.me to explore more cybersecurity topics and discover a best-selling book covering NIST and other critical cyber frameworks. Please like, rate, and review this episode on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, remember that knowledge is power.